Hi, I'm JJ Barnes, and this is Jonathan McKinney.
Hello.
And you're watching another episode of Writing Advice with JJ and Jonathan. Today we're going to be talking about your character's motivation and making sure your audience will understand it.
Okay.
So we've often talked about how your characters, both the protagonist and the antagonist, they need to be motivated. They need to want something, they need to be going after it, they need to, have a motivation for doing the things they're doing, otherwise it's pointless.
Okay.
But you can motivate your characters in a way that nobody understands. Why do they care about this? Why does it matter? They care about it, it obviously matters to them, but it seems a complete disconnect from what your audience might expect. So think about Daenerys suddenly wanting Jon Snow to be impressed by her.
Right.
Why?
Okay.
Why? We had no reason for that. You often find it with antagonists. They will be really, really motivated to blow up the world. Why? They're motivated, they're going after what they want, and that's good. The fact that they are driven, they are caring particularly about something and they want it. But why?
Okay, so in my mind, there's two sides to this.
Okay.
So in one regard, it's your job to demonstrate this motivation, the reason why your character is in pursuit of whatever it is that they are in pursuit of. So you're talking about using scenes, we talk about the most sort of unsubtle demonstration of what a character wants is the I Want
the
song.
Disney I Want song.
But if you're aiming for something that, more experienced story consumers are going to enjoy, you don't want to just have the character say, this is what I'm going for. And here's why, with a lovely song. But you can
I do like the Disney I Want song though.
Yeah, it's a pure version of what we're talking about. But when you develop as a writer, you don't want to just have your character sing a song. You're writing a book or a movie that isn't a musical, and you want to find a more creative way to demonstrate with scenes where the frustrations began for this character. The frustrations that turned into motivation to do something about the situation that they're in.
Absolutely, yeah.
There's a good example in my mind. I won't go on at length about it, but the villain in The Shape of Water is really well motivated throughout the film, and so is the character who is the friend of the woman who's the main female character. But I recommend go and watch it rather than me talk about it, because I don't think you've seen it.
No, I've only seen bits of it.
Yeah, and then so that's sort of the job of putting the building blocks of their motivation into the actual story.
And the thing is, it can be something that you or I don't personally understand. We won't understand wanting to blow up the world.
Yeah, this is what I was going to say. The second thing
is
it sounds like from this conversation, it sounds like the second part of this is trying to make it, I guess, relatable.
Exactly. You can have them, like as I say, they can be really, really motivated by absolutely anything. It can be anything that they are very motivated by and very motivated to do. But you have to put the time into making sure your audience understands why. You can have them believably motivated to do all sorts of bizarre things. You have people motivated to murder. You have people motivated to bank rob or kidnap somebody.
Yeah, I mean, if you're kidnapping somebody for ransom or you're robbing a bank, you're talking about somebody pushed by. But
that's the thing. You can motivate, not necessarily. You can motivate people to do all kinds of strange and dramatic things. But if you haven't put the time into making sure your audience finds that grounding in it, something that they can, even if they wouldn't do it, can get their head around why somebody would. And I think a lot of weak storytelling is when you take a nugget of information. You're told your characters have to be motivated. Okay, well, this character is motivated to do this. There's another layer to it. Just motivated isn't enough. It has to be motivated with something that people will understand why. I mean, I think the exception to this rule is possibly Joker.
Well, I was thinking of the Joker
because he is obviously, if you take Dark Knight, very motivated.
Yeah.
He's working hard. He's driven. He's shooting the clowns and he's blowing up the hospital. He's very driven to do the things he's doing. But that character, you have to just accept the motivation is chaos.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a relatable thing for most people.
No, it's not.
And relatable. I think that is an exception to the rule. I think for the most part.
Depending on the type of villain that you're writing, whether or not you want to, I don't know if relatable, because most of us, you watch The Dark Knight, you're impressed with Heath Ledger's performance, you're impressed with the very dramatic way that story was told, and you might not be thinking like, why would the Joker do this? Because you're thinking, he is doing this and it's terrifying for the people around him, and I hope that Batman stops him.
You're right, relatable isn't necessarily the right word. I think relatable for your protagonist.
I think it's useful though. I mean, you look at the Kingpin in the Spider-Verse.
Exactly. It's grounded in something relatable.
Yeah, well, in his case, he misses his family, and that's understandable, not just relatable.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it depends, but I think it's more complicated than it being relatable. But I definitely think that, like with the Joker, so I mean, I'd say he's a success of a character as a character construction, right?
Yeah.
In The Dark Knight.
Yeah, I agree.
He explains to, I think, Harvey Dent when he's got half a face, that he is an agent of chaos, which is what you mentioned there. And it's a little bit kind of, it's a little bit pompous to label yourself in such a way.
Yes, it is, but it works because he's a bit mental.
He's mental, so
very mental.
But then that is consistent with what he does throughout I think the only difference is that he becomes obsessed with Batman.
Yeah.
Not in order to serve chaos, but in order to be a rival force in the city that they live.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's anything relatable about him.
Yeah.
But
no, you're right. I
something
think
you can grapple with.
As I say, I think Joker and characters of his nature are the ones that make the exception for this rule. But I think generally, if you're thinking generally, if you are making a character very, very driven to accomplish something.
Yes.
Just being driven to accomplish it isn't enough. There has to be a reason.
Yeah.
And, you can have people who are very driven to do all kinds of things, as I said. But if you haven't got something, a reason that makes sense, something that you can be like, yeah, okay, this might not be a good way of going about it, or this isn't necessarily something I approve of or would do myself. But that core reason, the reason that makes them so driven to do it, that you're following this story, has to be something that you can be like, okay, yeah, I get why this matters to you. The way they go to do it might not make sense to you, it might not work for you as personally, but that's fine. They have a reason for doing it, which makes sense, and they have they are after something.
Yeah. And
the pursuit and the motivation for that pursuit, that is where you have your good story.
Yeah, so to come back a little bit to The Dark Knight, because it's sort of, I feel like that film almost wrestles with this conversation. Because Bruce Wayne, when he's talking to Alfred, is saying that criminals aren't complicated, that they want money or they want something, and so they go after it, and that's why they commit crimes. And then Alfred goes on this big story about a diamond thief who used to steal diamonds and then give them away, but he was doing it for sport. He makes the point that the Joker is essentially, he is entertaining himself by doing this, so that even that is sort of explaining to the audience what his motivation is.
Yeah, it is kind of, even though it's supposed to be chaos and random and he's just out for causing that, they are sort of saying at the core of it is something you can understand. He wants to have fun.
He wants to entertain himself.
He wants to be stimulated.
Wants to watch the world burn.
Yeah.
And so even then, the writers of that film, I don't know if it's Chris Nolan and whoever, but they went to the trouble of
giving the
not
audience
just leaving him, like not leaving the audience in the state that Bruce Wayne is in before Alfred tells him that story about the diamond thief. So it's
something you can hook into, as I say, something that will give you access to that character.
Yeah.
Even if it's on a really Joker is the extreme, a really an extreme character and a tiny hook, wants to be entertained. It's still something where you're like, okay, that is now a human to me.
Right, and we're talking about grand stories where it's good and evil.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be. It can be.
If your antagonist is like, if you're writing something more focused in on everyday life, and your characters are more human, and as Joker and Kingpin are human, but they're extra normal, right? If you're telling a story that's set in our world, not urban fantasy, but human beings.
Yeah, you've got somebody who just wants something different to your protagonist.
A family member or a friend who is ostensibly at the beginning of the story, a friend or a family member, but who is pitted against your character, and that's what you're exploring. Then certainly you really want to find where that person is flawed, and why that flaw is driving them to pursue things that are causing problems for your main character.
But that hook, that way of understanding the character through something at the base of what they're doing, that is good storytelling. Because if you don't understand any of what they're doing, you're not going to care as much. So that was our video about making sure your character motivation at its core level makes sense.
Right. So that it is coherent.
Yeah.
That it is
a hook into that as a person, basically, for your audience.
Okay.
So thank you very much for watching. If you could like this video and subscribe to our channel, you'll help us keep bringing you writing advice videos. And if you have anything you'd like us to talk about, any films, any books, any plot things, any writing techniques, anything like that, let us know. If you've got a YouTube channel and when you talk about any of these things to do with stories, we can link to your channel and send our audience to you and let us know. But yeah, comment below if you have any thoughts on that, because we always want to talk to more people about these things. And if you have any good characters that are really well motivated, talk to us, because we'd like to do some more videos on this as examples of how you can do this well. So yeah, look out for that. And yeah, check all the links below, because we've got links to all our books and info about the film that we are making this month, called Hollow Herd. We are going into production. Well, we are in production. We've already filmed some of it. So yeah, look out for that. I'll put a link to all of the stuff to do with Hollow Herd there, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.